And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Tommy Joe Laux, who, due to a motorcycle accident, had a near-death experience, which we're going to learn about and more. Tommy, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Okay, the near-death experience was in 2008. My wife and I took a vacation, went to Colorado, a family reunion at my sister's house, and we were on my 2007 Harley Road King, beautiful bike, and it was just a very comfortable trip. You know, we were both into motorcycles. And anyway, she was on the back, and we were on the way home. It was just outside of Montrose. We stopped at Montrose and got some lunch, and then we had like another half hour before we'd get to our first leg of the trip, which was her best friend's house. And we're on the highway, doing about 65. That was the speed limit. And a truck made a left in front of us. And I skidded, I don't recall the accident itself, the impact or any of that. But I skidded, according to the police report and all that, I skidded 180 feet. And then tried to lay it down right before the impact, just because it wasn't stopping, and I had no control when you're on a skid. So I just tried to lay it down, and that's when we went over and basically hit the truck with our bodies. And at that moment, at that impact, from what I recall, we both died at that time, and we both were out of our bodies, but we were there together. We were, a lot of the details of the scene itself is very minute in my recollection, because I just remember seeing basically zero pain, no pain whatsoever. And it was just beautiful. The energy, I reckon, was God. And basically we went there together as far as I could go. And through this event, I was apparently talking to other people who were in the hospital after the fact, after the crash. I was talking to them, but I was kind of unaware of my interaction with them, except for her talking to her friend, who has since passed on. But when I was talking to her over the phone about the time when we were in that accident, or when in that room, I had come to at one point, and she said something to me, and I said, "Dana, what are you doing here?" And that struck her as odd, but I was talking from that other dimension, knowing that she wasn't supposed to be there, but knowing why I was there, because I had some very deep lessons to learn, things to learn, and basically, so throughout that event, my wife was pronounced dead either at the scene or at the first hospital, which was Montrose, and I was airlifted to Grand Junction, and that's where everybody that came to the hospital had to go to Grand Junction, which is about, I don't know, 100 miles from where my wife's friend lived, but also even about 150 miles from where my sister and everybody else that came. But anyway, in that event, I could, from that other dimension, I could see everybody. I use the phrase that a lot of people talk about is like the 40,000-foot view, where I could be anywhere at any time. I mean, all I had to do was think of them and I was there. So I could see people, I could see my kids learning about it and them breaking down. I could see my mom hearing about it and hearing from the doctor that they lost me, that I was dead. And, so I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this and hearing it from the from that out of body experience, which, before this, I knew nothing about near death experiences. I paid little attention to almost everything. I paid little attention to politics and religion, uh, basically because I figured somebody else, that's not my gig. And then so uh, apparently going through life, I that was my philosophy, is let somebody else take care of the heavy shit. I've got a job to do. I gotta, and I was a carpenter to the stars, to a lot of the, like, Spielberg, Harrison Ford, Will Smith, all of these mega rich people. That was my career, and I started this business. Well, let me back up. I started working for another company when I was a teenager, and that's what they did. And then basically, I worked my way to the top of that company and got laid off. The owner, it was a small business, but the owner said he was just going to make it just a family operation, which by then I thought I was part of the family, but I had to go. So my thought at that time was to either build, either start climbing another ladder or build my own. So I built my own business in my garage. Uh, this is part of being back into this realm and realizing how everybody's energy, we're shared. We're we're coexisting, but we're co-creating our own world, and that's very important for people to realize that we can, uh, the dream, the dream that we're living is only realized if you realize you are in control of that dream. You are creating that dream.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you
Okay.
are you saying that our life is a dream and reality is on the other side?
Yes. Yes. But this dream is either beautiful or not, depending on your own mechanism. It's not just your brain, but your whole body uh, is a thinking process, a creator. It will create the. It's an amazing machine that is self-healing generally. But if we contaminate that enough, it will it will be under somebody else's control. That's in essence, that's the whole um, system that we're living in. And I saw the turmoil coming. I didn't know how it was going to unfold. I just knew that there was going to be some very uh, very trying times, and that's what I'm talking about right now. We're in those that um, if we don't acknowledge that, if you don't see your own corruption, in other words, no matter how much your job pays, if you're being paid to deceive, then you you have to call the deception what it is. Call fiction fiction, but don't take that fiction and try to make it a reality. That's where we're at, and that's um, as long as far as uh, artificial intelligence, like AI, what they call AI, artificial intelligence. To me, that's an oxymoron. That's that's like saying fake intelligence. Okay, well, I'm not buying that. I mean, what do we call intelligence in this country, in this world? Intelligence, the intelligence agencies are trained to lie. So they are artificial intelligence, if you ask me, because they cannot disclose things that they know because they are controlled by the pseudo gods, which I call government. The big G.
Let me ask you a question here. I'd like to take you back to your NDE and dig a little deeper about you and your wife seeing each other on the other side when the accident just happened. What kind of conversation did you have with your wife? Like, did you acknowledge that you're going back and she's going to stay, or what
Not
happened?
not immediately, uh, but we went there together, and being out of my body, so I was completely. First, let me explain what I saw dying there on the side of the road was my ego. And to be honest with you, I did not know I had an ego. I didn't really give much thought to ego or what that is. To me, it was the weakest part of me, the less intelligent, or the least. Um, it was it was clever, but it wasn't smart. In other words, it was. So we went there together, and for whatever reason, I really don't know ultimately who decided one of us was coming back and one of us wasn't. I would assume that would be God. But in that, the way I look at it is I was denied access to that heaven. So from that to that dimension, I was sentenced to another life sentence. I'm not sure what I did in the past life that warranted 2 life sentences, but here I am. And that's part of, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing to be alive. So anybody that says that they don't want to repeat this, once you get a glimpse at eternity and you see that your spirit has always been here, not always in the same form. Sometimes you might have been the evil spirit. Sometimes you might, but as you keep doing this and you learn, that's where we're at right now. We're at the crossroads of learning that it's better to be good or godlike than evil, devil-like. So that it's very, these words have that kind of meaning, you know. Every word that that we that we hear in our life is a part of who you are today. But there's also the little bit of um, knowing that I had to come back. I mean, I didn't have to come back, but once I decided to come back and getting here, I could feel everybody's energy and their pain in wanting to know what it was like, but they couldn't ask because in everybody's mind, nobody gets to come back from death. And that's where, okay, I saw thousands and thousands, perhaps millions of people going through that same process that I went through. And not everybody comes back. And everybody that does come back, not everybody remembers the full uh, event or the. But that was what I saw was that I could come back and tell you, Jeff, that you've been there, and that is part of your. That's where you came from. That other beautiful dimension where there is no ego, there is no competition, there is no um, human condition. And so if we could get over our that human condition of our fear and inferior, uh, that's literally, you know, basically in life you're told that uh, if you have high self-esteem, that's good. But if you have a high ego, that's bad, you know. But where's they're both the same thing. Self-esteem means you're proud of who you are. That's a good thing. But anybody that gets to that higher dimension, there's thousands of people that want to knock you down because they want that spot. That's not the way this works. We are all uh, created equally, and you're born with everything you need to know, just like the Matrix. But in order to in order to understand the game, and this is the twist in the Matrix that makes it kind of distorted, is the red pill, blue pill. That's part of the allowed confusion, between left and right, red and blue, red states, blue states. It, like keep the battle going. If you don't keep the battle going, then the game is over. That's not true. I mean, the competition can be, if we all work together, we could all understand this uh, peace on earth. But if we fight with each other and assume that, you know, my God's better than your God, or my dad can kick your dad's ass, that's kind of that's kind of childish. But that's kind of where we're at in society. The children are well, it's worse than that. The criminals are running the asylum, and that's kind of the way it's always been.
Did you see your wife on the other side, like as
Yes,
like
it
her
was,
astral body or something?
yes, and uh, we were both in a. Um, I can honestly say that the love was real. You know, the love, but and I can also say that since I knew she was ultimately after, because I flatlined 3 times. And after the third time of coming back, and the pain of coming back, and the pain of not just my physical pain, but the emotional and mental pain that I knew that I was going to have to deal with family and friends and people that knew me before, strangers have never that I've never met can hear this story and understand that uh, I'm not making this up. I mean, you have that ability to see when somebody's being honest or when somebody's making something up. And to be honest with you, it's so much easier to be honest because I don't have to remember anything. I can just tell the story I re, the way I see it, the way I remember it, and that's part of why. Uh, so you asked me, did I see her non-physical body? Her, yes, we were both non-physical in that realm, and it was literally more beautiful, and that's why coming back, I knew that she was in a beautiful place. And another strange thing about, let's just say, life. Uh, I was in a band at the time, and the name of my band was Smiling Fish. Um, and when I started this band, it was me and my partner, but um, we started playing in my garage, just acoustic guitars and then campfires. And then he wanted to put together a band. Okay, I just went along for the ride, but I was doing a lot of writing at the time, songwriting. And my wife uh, didn't, well, I mean, we were all friends, but she was kind of in she would go through this seasonal depression. Uh, Starting, her birthday was in December, in September, and starting around there every year, kind of the winter blues, if you will. And I didn't, I could see it, but I didn't know what that was. I didn't pay attention to the emotions at that time. Now I'm very aware of the emotions and the power of emotions because her soul still lives through me somewhat. not not physically, but emotionally, she's very much attached. Seeing what you're getting into coming back, and knowing that your life is going to be completely changed. Everything, what I was comfortable with, we were, I was 50 years old at the time, and the president of a cabinet shop or woodworking business. And my partner and I started that band. And this is around 1998, 99. Um, and then she left me for a year. And I was devastated. I did not see that coming. And I went to her friends, our friends, each one, and told them that I didn't see this coming. And one of her best friends in that area uh, said, "How could you not have seen it coming? What if she died?" I said, "Well, if she died, that would not so much be her choice, but," and that's all I knew at that time. Now that I know that it is a choice, but it has more to do with um, the power that you have on the other side is much greater than it is on this side, if that makes sense. The spirit that you live in this life is much more powerful on the other side. That's why the conditioners of this world want everybody miserable. Uh, that's why they want everybody to stay asleep, to not notice how, you know the strings operating that are being pulled on all of the puppets, including myself. And once you see the strings, then you can start either yanking on those strings yourself and go your own way. You can do what you can rewrite the script for yourself. As long as you're not hurting anybody else in doing that, uh, it's it's the way the world is supposed to be. And I can help a lot of people if the people want help, but I can't help anybody that doesn't want help.
In what way can you help people?
By showing them their own power, by showing them the same way that uh, the same way that the same philosophy as Jesus. If you understand that Jesus died, but his spirit lives on, that Christ consciousness, you can own that. You can be that, but you have to own it. You have to believe it. Same with Buddha. Same with uh, the Hindu philosophy and all of these different religions. They're all talking about the same thing, but they get distorted and then they get manipulated and used against each other to make to make it seem like, well, there is power in numbers, but the poverty that the us bottom feeders, and I call myself that now because I've been to the top and I've been to the bottom, and it's much easier at the bottom because it's it's less of a fall. uh, and I go deep anyway, so it's the pressure is the same whether you're going 40 feet up or, I mean, 40,000 feet up or 40,000 feet down. The pressure is the same, but I can't just live on the surface. I would, I go both ways. I can go forwards or backwards in my consciousness. And that's kind of alarming, but a lot of people that go through the near death experience that basically seeing what's happening before it happens and trying to help people see that themselves because everybody has this ability. Those that want to control the world and control every aspect of your world, uh, they don't want that. They don't want people to know that. That's part of um, that's part of why you can't say certain things on certain platforms. Because truth is much more hard to contain and control. Lies are easy. I mean, lies are everywhere. Everybody assumes that everybody else is doing what they're doing.
After you got back and you healed up from this accident, how did your life change?
Well, I didn't have a wife anymore, and knew that I wouldn't have a wife because I don't need a wife. I don't need an anchor. I know that, I mean, I can love as much as I did before, but I don't have to have that contract. Uh, so that was one thing. I do have, I mean, and I miss her immensely because she was my financial driver. She was my economic advisor. I don't have that anymore. So I blow through money like it's water. And when I get out of money, then I start eating cheaper food. But as long as it keeps me alive, I know it's not going to kill me. Not immediately. It's a long, slow death, this life thing, especially when you have protection. And I have some of that um, protection, but I don't advertise that either because if you do, then those that want it will want to eliminate you. They think that by taking you out, they can take your place. I'm pretty sure nobody wants my place right now.
Just before you hit the truck, did you already leave your body so you didn't even experience the impact?
Well, in a sense, yes. Uh, I think we both did because that's an automatic. Um, from what I can see from uh, from how the body works, how the body mind works, it deletes the traumas that are too painful. And just the thought of hitting that truck was okay. Well, let's get out of here because this is going to leave a mark. This, this is going to this is not going to turn out well. You know that in your mind, going at that speed, what it's that it's going to be painful. But and I don't recall any pain. So that was all deleted. Actually, that whole day was deleted until uh, I I realized in one of my saddlebags that was recovered from the accident. I found a T-shirt that we bought at the Montrose Harley Davidson, and that brought that part back, that memory back. And I could remember that, yeah, it was just a beautiful day. No, no reason to crash. No weather. No. Um, so anyway, what I was talking about earlier about the band and my wife, uh, before she left me for that year, she um, one of her friends told me that she was tired of playing second fiddle to the band. And my first smartass remark was to her was, I didn't know she played fiddle. We could use a fiddle player. Anyway, she didn't play fiddle, but she did play clarinet. And it was a rock and roll band, and I had bought a flute for my daughter, which when I worked it out with her and she came back and told her she's welcome in the band. She's beautiful. She can sing. She wrote a song called Take Me Home. That was one of the, and this was back in 2001. It was actually on uh, September 10th, 2001. We recorded this in a Lancaster Performing Arts. It was a small group. We were trying, we were helping a friend of ours that ran that theater uh, test his people and his equipment. And so it was recorded, and all of this was just part of my past, part of her past. But Take Me Home. And then I'll tell you another significant part about that. After the accident, my daughter and I went to Costa Rica and we're snorkeling about 100 yards out, or yeah, about 100 yards out into the ocean, standing on some rocks. And we're in about waist high water. And I said, "This is beautiful. This is paradise," to my daughter. I said, "Your mom would love it here." And then I said, "She's here with us." And as I said that, I waved my arms in the water, and I felt something in my left hand. And I thought it was a piece of paper or a leaf. And I pulled it out, and it was a butterfly the size of my palm. As I said, "She's here with us." And that was just my daughter and I. And I was like, wow, if that's not a sign that she is. And I had this, I don't know if you can see that, this tattoo in that left hand on that left arm, but there's the butterfly. And this is Jules, that's her. And so it's that's part of the synchronicities that are undeniable, the messages. And I believe everybody gets these messages, but we call them coincidence. Uh, the more you are aware of them, the more they happen, or the other way around. The more they happen, the more you're aware of them. I don't know which, but that's kind of my life in this after effect. But knowing things that are going to happen, but not knowing how to say them, because but I am very aware of the power of suggestion. So I try not to make any predictions. I just make um, observations, kind of, and I just report what I know.
So after being on the other side, as well as being here, obviously, Do you feel that we live in some sort of simulated reality?
Yes, uh, but it's kind of like um, it's getting more simulated as we move on with the technology. But getting back to the artificial intelligence, it's in my view, it's alien intelligence.
Have you seen ETs either on the other side or here?
I saw them as spirits, but because I believe in spirits, but they could look like aliens if that's what you wanted to see, whether here or there. There is very little. Once the veil is open and you everybody can see how programmed how scripted this life is. It's only scripted if you follow the script. Well, obviously, I never followed the script. I've tried to script my own, and that's including back to things like scripture. That's that will happen if that's what you believe. Whether it happens just to you or your group or your nation, whatever, you're making it happen by suggestion, by the prediction, if that makes sense. That's why, um, if you look at, let's say, take a fiction book like Orwell's 1984 or Huxley's A Brave New World, we are kind of living that right now. The pods and the incubators and the all of that science fiction stuff, it's become science fact because how the human that's how humans follow the leader, basically. So regardless of um, how you view anything, every generation wants that end time to happen in their lifetime. Well, that's basically what happens when you die. Your time's up. There, there is no time in that other dimension. So everything is technically happening now. Everything that ever did, ever will, it's all happening now. But most of it is being so suppressed because, we can't call AI alien intelligence until we acknowledge aliens. That's starting to happen, but are they really aliens or are they just AI create, you know, machine created machines?
I noticed behind you there is a picture of a hand and it looks like a light orb above it.
That's the inspiration for the cover of my book.
Is,
It's uh, that is glass, and it's carved glass. My friend does that. My wife did glass etchings, and I still have that equipment. But she also did like slump glass and stained glass, uh, mosaics, all those kind of things. But that is what inspired the book cover. um, and basically, I bought that after after the near death experience. But I really liked that.
Your book is called Egonomics 101. Is it about your NDE or something else?
Yes, well, the main message that I got in that near death experience was the ego and the soul. If you follow the soul, you're better off. In other words, that's your spirit, that's your intuition, everything that that drives your Christ consciousness. But if you follow the ego, then you're just stuck in a program. You're easily programmed, um, and so yes, it's very much a part of the title. Essentially, was given to me by God, uh, and the class, the new class 101. That's basically has a reference of that in the Matrix too. By the way,
Do you think that if we come here, then we're going to have ego? Because that's part of the game. Like if you're going to have a body, then you automatically have ego as well.
right? But it's as simple as acknowledging your ego, which was described to me as the human condition. And the conditioners of society want you to have that condition memorized. Like only pay attention to the condition that you're creating, and it will get worse. And so if you're unconditioned, that means that you're uncontrollable. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So the ego is the way they say it in AA is edging God out or something like that. I had to go to AA too, but I wasn't a good customer.
Was this before your NDE or after?
Well, one before and one after, but uh, I don't I don't drink and drive anymore. But that's I don't even go out much anymore because I have a hard time dealing with small talk. I I want to write another book, but I don't want to write it myself. So I'm looking for somebody, perhaps in your audience,
Yeah.
that wants to write, has the writing skills that are better than mine.
Well, maybe there's a ghostwriter out there that can help you.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this, anyways. After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you to ask you questions or to offer their services as a ghostwriter. Are you open to all of that?
Yes.
What's the
Uh,
best way to contact you?
well, um, I have a website, but I don't know how to use it yet. Uh, but I also, my email, smileandfish at gmail.com. And that's SMILE, the letter N, and FISH. And that was the name of my band. So that's why I picked that email long ago.
Well, if people wanted to learn more about your book, can they go to Amazon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Amazon, or I just signed up for the LA Book Fair in April. So hopefully that has some rewards. I really don't know what I'm doing in the book marketing campaign. That's where you need an ego. You know, if you want to sell anything, you kind of need that ego.
Do you feel like you've fully processed this NDE or you're
No,
still working on it?
no, I will be working on it for the rest of my life, and then probably a couple more, at least a couple more lifetimes after this, because uh, I got a little bit of an insight into how we live multiple lives. Uh, One is through our children and grandchildren, and that genetic memory. In my mind, is that 90% of the brain that you're not supposedly not using. That's your genetic memory and your past lives, which it's way in the back, so it doesn't, uh, and it keeps getting overridden through each life. But it's still in the uh, in the archives. That's where deja vu and uh, meeting somebody that you've known somehow through another time. That's kind of the soul. That's how this works. It from that deeper connection. That's why I don't. I mean, I definitely miss my wife Julie, but I don't. I know that she's still here. That's hard to have another girlfriend because I can't not say that. I can't tell them that. Oh, well, yeah, she's not here. I mean, I can tell them that she's died, so she's not a threat to you in any way. But it's hard for them to realize that they will never be as high on my soul level as she was, because kind of we went there together. So that's about as high as you can get.
Do you feel that she's waiting on you up there?
Yeah, well, it's not about waiting. Uh, she's definitely influencing me daily. Uh, One of the things that I don't want to admit, but that I saw in that near-death experience was my my son got into heroin, and he got addicted to heroin, and I could see that he wasn't gonna he wasn't gonna last long if he kept that up. So I tried to help him, uh, get him into rehab and all of these things, but I really didn't notice. I didn't realize fully that how important your mother is, especially if for a boy. Now, a girl, it's her dad, because it's that opposite, that you're so much alike. Just I think that makes sense. I can see my daughter. If I would have died and Julie came back, my daughter would have been the one that was all messed up and couldn't cope with it, and my son would be the strong one, because that's your purpose in life is to fill that void.
At this point in your life, do you fear death?
Not at all. Not. I in a sense I welcome it, but I don't. I'm not in a hurry. In my recognition of the human condition, I understand some words that we use every day that are not necessary, like the human race. What are we racing against? I mean, if you can't see those, it's so common of a term. But if we called it a human species instead of a human race, then we could kind of work things out and understand that color doesn't matter. The It's the soul that matters, and those that are unaware of the soul have already given it up for their job. Do you do you see what I mean? If you don't, if you can't uh, identify with an entity like a soul, then you're not part of that. You're just not aware of your own essence, of your own goodness. Uh, but if you think you're good only by thinking it, then you're missing it too. You have to be good in order to feel it 100%. I know I'm very aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. And my weaknesses are kind of overwhelming right now because I'm one of the things that had to change was I can't do the woodwork that I used to because of my shoulders. My upper body strength is gone. And I used to be able to, you know, use a skill saw over my head, almost like on a ladder. But I can't do that anymore. I can barely use it the way it's designed to use. And even like turning a screwdriver, I can do the motion with no screwdriver in there, but if I put any pressure on it, to actually turn a screw, that would hurt in doing that motion.
If you had a friend that was suffering over the loss of a loved one, what kind of advice would you give?
Just know that they're closer to you now than they were in physical life. Um, and if you understand that, then you understand that. If you there's much more beyond the physical realm. There's the love never dies, you know, and you have to kind of hold on to that love is forever. That's one of the things that I have on that goes across the top of my tattoo is forever love is still forever. And that's to Julie. Uh, when somebody passes, they understand you better from that dimension than they could ever express it in this dimension. And life goes on. Uh, life is beautiful and it's very abundant.
Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Love yourself and love those around you that are incapable of loving themselves. I know that one's hard. That one's hard for me.
Tommy, thank you for your message and thank you for being my guest.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. This was a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.